risk of setback, so they did away with the setback and the height restrictions.
If somebody needs urgent care and emergent care and they need to call 911, they should call 911.
An upcoming show in Windsor has been canceled because of safety concerns. Due to hateful comments, the event's planner feels the risk is too high to move ahead. The event, a drag queen read and sing along.
I'm numb. I'm very hurt.
The Healthy Mama restaurant has hosted 2 adults-only drag shows in the past, but the owner says this show was going to be a kid-friendly event featuring drag performers dressed as princesses, reading from books and singing to children. Drag is a type of performance art that plays with gender expression, but the owner says hateful online comments and phone calls forced her to cancel.
They made unlawful and unwarranted accusations against us about what was happening. They did not know the truth. They did not know what was going on. And then they made it public that they were going to be coming here to protest on Sunday, which was when the event was, Sunday at 2:30. And I just basically messaged Hudson Bay, and I thought, you know what, for the safety of children, that's what the event was for. And the patrons of Healthy Mama and my staff, it wasn't going to be safe to have people protesting with children here, so we canceled it.
In a statement posted online, Healthy Mama addressed comments from people who said the event would, quote, groom kids and wasn't appropriate for children. She said, quote, we would not host an all-ages event that involved provocative messages or images, as when we have hosted events in the past that have more of a nightlife theme. They are not for all ages. Stephen Druin is a drag performer. He grew up in Windsor and is also known as Hawaii Good Vibes. We asked how he felt about the reasons for the event being canceled.
I think grooming is like, it's actually just insulting to think that like people are saying like, we're doing this to groom people. No, I think that we are doing this because it's creative. And to even parents that are out there saying these negative things that you just said, those are your opinions, and sometimes negative opinions, just keep them to yourself. Like, if those are your thoughts and those are your opinions on what you think about like grooming children, then you don't bring your kids to it.
In other local news, the rising cost of food has some Windsor eateries struggling to stay afloat. Overall, inflation has been slowly dropping in recent months, but as CBC's Jennifer Lagrassa reports, food inflation continues to soar.
Oil. It's the key ingredient behind the Frying Saucer's prized poutine. But like many other food items, the price of canola oil has significantly increased over the last year.
It is something that concerns me. Hopefully oil doesn't keep going up, because that is one of my major expenses.
Last year, Paige says 16 liters of oil cost around $19. Now, it's about $52.
I did have to change my menu prices from last year. I tried to absorb basically half the increase myself to maintain a fair price and great food. I've locked all the prices in on my menu, and I don't believe getting in there with a marker and changing it every day.
New Statistics Canada data shows that last month, the cost of food was about 11% higher than the year before. It's a rate that keeps on climbing. Food inflation is almost double the overall inflation rate. Despite the bite this is taking out of small business profits, one owner says she hasn't raised menu prices because she worries that will cost her customers.
We're struggling because we can raise our prices every week or two, but yet you go out to get your grocery and it goes up every other week you go and prices has changed. And somehow we got to try and survive by keeping prices the same.
Whether the prices go up or not, these young people say they've cut down on eating out to keep up with the rising cost of living.
I forced myself to learn how to cook because it's a little more expensive to buy fresh product, but at the end of the day, I'm paying $30 every time to eat out. It's kind of just too much.
In university, you go out and you spend time with friends, study, all that kind of stuff. But with the rising costs of going out, everything, I'm more inclined to stay home.
Well, I am not preferring eating outside. I prefer eating by making my food myself.
Some suggested that restaurants have a weekly discount day or student deals. In addition to what businesses can do, there's also steps the city can take to help out.
Businesses are still struggling to get fully back on their feet.
Naidu suggests the city lower processing times for business permits, reduce the tax rate for small businesses, and look at a hiring subsidy. But for now, businesses are just hoping costs stabilize.
We're already in the hole. We're losing a lot of money. So right now we're just holding on to get to the end of the season.
Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
There's a condo project in Walkerville that neighbors say is too big and doesn't fit the historical area. But the criticism comes in tandem with a big push for more housing. The CBC's Jason Vio explores this election issue in Ward 4.
The Walkerville area is known for its historic homes, a look and feel not seen anywhere else in the city. This nook in that neighborhood is at a bit of a crossroads. Back in 2016, a city heritage planner suggested 3 single-family homes should be built in this space. Council supported that concept. Fast forward to March 2022, a new developer comes to the table with plans for a 4-story condo building. By a 7-3 vote, the current council changed course and gave the green light for this new vision. Current Ward 4 councillor Chris Holt voted in favor. That seat is now open as he runs for mayor. This project has neighbors upset. They don't want a vacant lot, but they also don't want something much larger than the surrounding homes, adding it ignores a 2015 heritage impact study.
Hi.
How are ya?
Good. What's important to you in this election campaign?
We don't mind buildings, and it's just the lack of setback. So they did away with the setback and the height restrictions.
Yeah.
And for Walkerville, I just don't think that that's appropriate.
Kristen Siapis is one of 8 candidates running in Walkerville.
We need to make sure that we're developing a process that satisfies the developer's need and our own needs, as well as balancing that with what the residents in the immediate area need.
Here's where the other candidates fall on this issue. Both Greg Hale and Patrick Sutherland support the development. Giovanni Abadi, Eddie Haddad, and Mark McKenzie oppose it. And Kristen Siapis, as well as Matt Marchand, feel the decision should be revisited. Jake Rondot did not respond to our request. Now, balancing the urgent need for housing against the wants of neighbors is a complex challenge, says this architect who focuses on small-scale developments.
City planning shouldn't be politicized. It shouldn't be councillors making decisions, whether for or against, which is my opinion. It should be from planning and professional policies that make guidelines for zoning and adding new density, adding new housing in neighborhoods.
When you look at this vacant land that people have plans to develop, what do you think when you see this?
I think about the potential we have here to do something amazing.
For now, the project is on pause. That's because neighbors have filed an appeal with the Ontario Land Tribunal. A procedural hearing is taking place tomorrow. Jason Vio, CBC News, Windsor.
Monday night, we will have you covered when it comes to election coverage. I will be here in studio delivering results for you live, and we'll also have a team of reporters bringing you the latest developments. It starts at 8 o'clock just as the polls close, so make sure you tune in online at cbc.ca/Windsor and on CBC Gem. The Ford government plans to double fines for developers who rip off Ontario home buyers. It's targeting developers who cancel home building projects or terminate purchase agreements.
Today's announcement is a very clear message to these greedy and unethical builders that enough is enough, they need to stop.
The proposed changes would see the maximum financial penalty doubled to $50,000 per infraction. The fines for repeat offenders would also double, with individuals now facing charges of $100,000 and corporations on the hook for $500,000. The government said fines collected would go back to affected home buyers. Individuals found guilty may also face a 2-year prison sentence. The NDP MPP for Windsor West said while the government's policy sounds good, a lack of enforcement would render it meaningless. The Home Construction Regulatory Authority has the power to give out fines, but no decisions have been made on any disputes since late August. Now remember, these new homes made out of shipping containers we told you about on Tuesday. Provincial government officials also said they were talking with the federal government to remove any barriers that shipping containers could play in hosting new housing units.
Ontario's building code is one of the strongest in any Canadian jurisdiction. We're actively working with the federal government on harmonization of the building code. So it's an active conversation that we're having as well. We made a promise to Ontarians during the election that every year under the leadership of Premier Ford, we would have a housing supply action plan. So actively looking at building code issues on how to still retain the safe building code that we have in the province, but with a view of looking at innovation moving forward.
The provincial government is giving all parents $200 per school-aged child. It's part of what the province calls its plan to catch up due to learning struggles for kids during the pandemic. Lorenda Radicop reports.
Families can apply today online for catch-up payments.
They're called catch-up payments, but don't have to be used to help kids catch up. Over the past few months, the education minister has mentioned more money for tutoring supports. But parents can spend the money on anything. $200 per child, $250 for those with special needs.
You know, I have a confidence in parents in this province to put these dollars to work for their kids. It is a difficult time in this economy with inflation high.
Plus, he announced other supports, such as sending in action teams to school boards underperforming in math, more digital tools, and improving teacher training.
Sometimes a student likes to get up and be more physical with the wall.
Vanessa Vacaria runs the tutoring business, The Math Guru. She doesn't like the idea of paying parents directly to help with learning.
As a private tutor and a private tutoring company would directly benefit from these supports, but I don't think it's the best use of money. We're trying to fix a problem with the public education system, and in my opinion, that money would be better spent in schools.
She also says with each tutoring session costing $50 to $80, $200 won't help much. All this as today, the latest standardized test scores are out. 59% of grade 3 students met the provincial standard in math, much lower than the results for reading and writing. For grade 6 students, just 47% met the math standard. Again, a huge gap compared to the reading and writing results. With grade 9 students, 52% met the standard for math, though this was the first time the tests were done online. Vanessa Vacaria says what would really help students who are struggling is smaller class sizes. Parents have until next March 31st to apply online for the extra money. The website is ontario.ca/catch-up payments. Lorenda Radicop, CBC News, Toronto.
The chief of Essex Windsor EMS says he's been busy working towards solutions after declaring a local emergency on Monday. Essex Windsor EMS provided stats earlier this week to show the increase in code blacks. That's when no ambulance is available to respond to a call. However, they made a mistake calling them instances of code blacks when in fact it was minutes in a code black. EMS was in code black for a little over an hour all of August, 2 hours all of September, and 8 hours combined for the first 2 weeks of October. And this week, the chief met with local MPPs and Health Minister Sylvia Jones. They discussed some solutions like more funding and getting a clinician into the dispatch center to determine if a caller needs a hospital or different support. I spoke with Chief Crowder earlier today, and I asked how quickly we'll see some of these plans become reality.
We're hoping that next week, some of them may be operationalized, that we can get into place. Some of them might take a little bit longer. They have to go through the process with the ministry, but our goal, and as the incident commander, I've asked all of our regional healthcare leaders that we can get these these items actioned sooner, that I can make sure that they are in play. I just don't want to have discussions and say, hey, maybe we should be doing this, but more they're concrete, they're being worked on. That will help us navigate and see where we can go on lifting the the emergency order.
Yeah, and it sounds like these conversations have been positive so far, but I'm wondering, how confident are you that you can turn this around, you can turn this around quickly?
I'm pretty confident that we can turn it around quickly. Everybody at the table is very, very committed to making sure that all of the different processes are in play to mitigate the code reds and blacks. We were committed before, but bringing this together with the escalation of the emergency declaration only sparked more interest. We have a big table at the community control group, and I'm very optimistic and I'm very confident that we will be able to mitigate some of these issues and get the action items concrete.
And for residents in our community who are scared that if they need an ambulance, they might not get one, what is your message to them?
I can say on a positive note, since the declaration, we've had one instance of code black and it was for less than a minute. But we haven't experienced any of that. And even our code reds, where we're down to 2 ambulances, have very much subsided. We've been in a very good status over the last 3 or 4 days in managing it well. And that just proves to the dedication, the professionalism of not only the paramedics of Essex Windsor EMS, but the frontline healthcare workers in the hospitals and our dispatch centers, and all of the organizations committed to making sure that we can get ambulances offloaded quickly. I do want to say that if somebody needs urgent care and emergent care and they need to call 911, they should call 911. And we will get there in a life-threatening situation as quickly as we can to get there. Nobody should be afraid that they're not going to get it. And if ambulances aren't available, which I'm optimistic right now that we have them in good shape, we will have our other partners in the community respond and provide them the care. Nobody should be scared of not calling us, and nobody should be saying, well, I can't go to the emergency room either. If that's needed, do that, but the public should be aware that pressures within the healthcare system now are heavy, and there may be delay for those urgent natures or less acute natures. There may be delays, whether it's with the ambulance getting to them or in the emergency department of getting to see the health care.
Bruce Crowder is the chief of Essex Windsor EMS. We saw snow today. For more on that, Colette Kennedy will be here. Stay with us. wonderful Colette Kennedy is back with us for a look at our weather forecast. And Colette, I have to start by pointing out a moment of horror and shock that rippled through this newsroom when we spotted snow just outside these windows.
Yes, a little bit of light precipitation at the
light
reporting
precipitation.
station was
Unacceptable.
there. It wasn't just your imagination. Yes, a little bit there, kind of briefly through this afternoon with that temperature above freezing, but very close to it, and that core of colder air in place. But don't worry, I have some news that's going to kind of turn everybody's mood around if that was something that caused you some alarm. So we do have the risk of frost tonight. Okay, that carries on. That's not going to ease your pain. But warmer and breezy again into tomorrow. Breezier, but it's a southerly flow that's going to pick the temperatures up, and that whole pattern turnaround is coming our way. So we finally get rid of this trough that's been in place, and we'll see a ridge of high pressure building in, and that changes our entire weather pattern. So temperatures are kind of interesting in terms of what will be happening. This is where they're at right now, and we are going to see some of our coldest readings as we head closer to or around midnight, and then temperatures will start to rise through the overnight hours. So we'll get down close to freezing, but then it starts to pick back up. You're seeing that moisture that's pushing away too, whether it's in the form of rain showers mostly or a little bit of mixed precipitation. So there's that ridge that's building in, just brings with it a few clouds. It's really that directional flow of that warm air that had been through our prairie provinces. They've been seeing it. It was kind of stuck there, and we were stuck in our pattern, and now this is moving in. And as it does, it really means not only that we're going to see a couple of days with a lot of sunshine, it also means our temperatures are going to be going above seasonal. It's going to feel almost like spring, but don't get too confused. So a look tonight at what we're looking at with some of these temperatures. And again, these are just not the low necessarily, but I'm kind of taking a snapshot of the temperature around 2 a.m. There you go. Can you believe this 5-day forecast of what's coming your way? Did I miss something? Is this a board from previous months? No, this is it, Katarina.
No, you nailed it, and that's a beautiful forecast after what we
dreamy?
experienced today. Yeah, so thank you as always.
You're welcome.
Stay with us. We'll have more news updates for you right after the break. Welcome back. The commission looking into the federal government's use of the Emergencies Act heard today from Ottawa's Deputy Chief of Police. She admitted mistakes were made dealing with the convoy protests last winter and described the infighting within the police force. Rafi Boudjikanian has the story.
When police moved in on the convoy in mid-February, multiple forces showed a unified front. But that was 3 weeks into the protesters' occupation, and today the inquiry heard law enforcement was anything but united in the time leading up to that clash.
The chief said something to the effect of, this is a strategy, this is I don't expect you to understand, but this is our house, and we're going to do this in our house. So I felt that was a bit of a power move that I didn't think was necessary in the circumstances.
That's how Acting Deputy Police Chief Trish Ferguson says her boss, Chief Peter Slowly, reacted to the RCMP and Ontario Provincial Police stepping in to help plan a response to the convoy. But she admits it wasn't just a matter of turf wars that slowed down reaction. Intel from the OPP showed the convoy planning a long-term stay, something Ottawa police seemed to ignore early on.
Do you think that might have been part of the challenge here, is that Ottawa Police Service was so used to dealing with certain kinds of protest that perhaps, but the template plan was dusted off, a few revisions were made and presented as being something that would be appropriate for this event?
I don't know that any service across the country would have anticipated what we saw arriving at our doorstep.
Are you concerned that maybe there was a failure to appreciate what may actually happen here and there was just too much reliance on what was done in the past?
I think there was definitely a failure to appreciate.
In fact, the document prepared by the OPP in February specifically called out the city police response for an unclear and vague command and control structure, a lack of collaboration, and a focus on maintenance and no resolution.
All this as Slowly's own expected testimony still lays ahead. And today, another wrinkle, some of the lawyers at the commission officially requesting Ontario Premier Doug Ford and Deputy Premier Sylvia Jones, Solicitor General back then, to appear too, turning up the pressure on them beyond just their political opponents. Rafi Boudjikanian, CBC News, Ottawa.
That is it for CBC Windsor News. For news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor, and you can find all of our election coverage there. We've got you covered, and Monday night we'll have you covered as well. We will have live coverage of the election as results come in from 8 o'clock to 9:15, and you can stream that online on our website and on CBC Gem. You can also find us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thanks for watching. Have a great night.